Hello and welcome back to DriveDriverDriven. I'm Humble and we're back again on the Blunicorn project. This time we're back on the aero elements and we're working on the rear wing and the rear wing stanchions. Now I pointed out before that with the RS update, the rear wing now mounts to basically the sides of the rear clamshell, and it rests on some pillow blocks in the back that are mounted directly to the chassis, and therefore all the aero load that wing generates is transmitted through those blocks and directly into the chassis. Well, there's a little bit of finagling to do to make sure all of that lines up. So let me show you some of the work I've already done, and we'll get to drilling these stanchions out and hopefully mounting the wing. Now it's a bit of a struggle because the exhaust is in the way, but you can see that I've taped up the area where the wing stanchions come down and they meet that pillow block down below there, down here in this area. And if I grab one of the wing stanchions, I can hold the wing stanchion in place, and you can see what I've done here is I've drawn a template of where that wing mount sits on the block and its relationship to that area. Now, there's a couple things I want to point out here. So the bolts are going to go through these areas here, and the reason we have to make this tape template is we don't exactly know the orientation of everything just yet. What we want to do is when we put this wing stanchion back down in there and sort of line it up again, it's hard to do this with one hand, but there's a gap here and a gap here when I hold this upright. And what you want to do is try to center that on both sides and then mark the tape where your wing stanchion sits. Another thing I want to point out is there's sort of a beauty side where these screws go through and you can see the button heads, and then kind of a, not an ugly side, but it's where the backs of those screws are on the other side. You want to make sure that you get these kind of screw head sides on the outside. So for instance, this is the driver's side. So in place here, you kind of get the better looking side of the wing stanchion facing outward, because, well, that's the area that people are going to see. So I've done that for both sides, and our next job is to carefully peel this tape up. What I've done is I've done a couple of layers here, and you can see that I've already sort of poked through the tape where our screw holes need to be, and that's for the hardware that will actually hold the wing stanchions to the body. So what I need to do next is carefully peel this back in as one piece, and then we're going to apply it to our wing stanchion, and that'll give us the template on where we need to drill. Just as a quick aside, one of the reasons I wanted to get these aero catch latches installed is because I needed to have the rear clamshell pulled down into the position where it would be sitting just normally, with the clamps closed, all the tension on it, because this is going to be important when you're setting up those rear pivots, because if you do that too soon or it's loose when you fit your stanchions, the wing is going to bottom out on that block before your latches can close, leaving a body gap, etc. So you want to make sure you get your latches set right, whether you go with aero catches or the Ultima latches first, and then do your wing mounts last. So let's get that tape pulled up and get our stanchions drilled out. Okay, so I've removed our tape template. As you can see, this is as it was on the car. And then what I did was just transfer that pattern through, which you can see there is easy to do, onto the sticky side of the tape. And then the goal is I'm going to take this wing stanchion and place it carefully onto the tape here. All right, so we've got our template on. And if I turn this over now, that's how it locates our holes for the wing mount. And basically you're just gonna drill these through. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drill them a little bit larger than I believe the M6 hardware that goes through this, just to give a little bit of wiggle room with things as they grow or change, heat warp, etc. So it's not completely fixed, and there is some adjustability in the future. You don't have to go crazy with that. I'm just going a little bit oversized just to have some wiggle room when I set up the wing here in a little bit. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is get these drilled and then mount them on the car. Little hard to see, but we have our wing mounts in, and they're resting on the pillow block down here. Again, I had a little bit of wiggle room with the bolts here so that we could flatten these against that lower pillow block mount. And so with those on, I was able to mount the wing. And you can see just how massive this rear aero element is. It just dwarfs the back of the car. Yeah, just a loss for words how beautiful this setup is, how well everything worked, how easily it gets installed. It's a little bit of legwork to get those templates made, but once you do that, you get the holes drilled, the rear stanchions just bolt into place, and then once those are on, the rear wing just mounts easily with some hardware right through these holes. So the top mount on the wing goes in this split from these two sandwich elements, and the wing just sits in between. You send a couple of bolts through and screw them down. And again, this is M6 hardware, just like on the lower mounts. And then on the sides of the wing, these are the curved end plates, which are an option for the RS. You would normally have like a flat style end plate, and these with these curved mounts are a little more aggressive, and you can see this kind of shape that it comes down and follows that rear quarter panel. And I really like the looks of these versus just the flat end plates. I haven't adjusted the angle of attack or anything like that. Right now, to my eye, it looks somewhat aggressive, maybe a 2-degree angle of attack or 3, something like that. A quick little demonstration on angle of attack. So our chassis is flat front to back, and this angle that this piece of aluminum is at, that's our angle of attack measured from the top of the front part of the lower element to the rear part of the lower element. And you just put a whatever, a ruler or some straight edge across the two, and you'll measure the angle that this is sitting at. And so right now, as it's pitched down like this, that's an aggressive angle of attack. You would call that a positive angle, or like, you know, +1, +2, +3, that sort of thing. If it were the other way, with the nose sitting higher, that's a less aggressive angle of attack, and that would be a negative number, so -1, -2, etc. The difference between the two is with a positive inclination or angle of attack in the wing, it's going to give you more downforce. It's going to dig into the air a bit more, and as the air comes up the backside of the wing here and is further energized by this second element, it's going to provide more downforce. Now you can counter that by changing the wing to a neutral or a 0 angle of attack, or a negative, a light negative, I should say, like a -1 or -2 angle of attack. What that'll do is that'll give you less rear downforce, not lift per se, because again we still have this second element here, but it'll give you less downforce for let's say better highway cruising, better gas mileage, that sort of thing. So when you're transiting to the track, you can take some angle out of the rear wing and get as much as maybe 2 to 3 miles per gallon just by doing a rear wing change. And then when you get to the track, angle it back forward to get that maximum downforce. A little tip for those of us that are taking these cars to the track and driving them to the track to get a little bit better mileage out of it. Quick little job today, but has a big effect on the back of the car. Again, I just can't believe how awesome it looks. That's all I want to dig into for the moment. I just wanted to get a simple job in today. So that's going to do it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.